Hi, my name is Justin Langford, and I'm doing this audio because I'm looking for a partner, as I've still not had anyone in my whole life. My current age is 38 until December 2020, and then I'm 39. But before I go into all this, I want to give you a bit of back history of my experience on dating and trying to find someone by putting ads in shop windows or in the newspapers. It all goes back to 1997. I left school about that time, and I only had one friend that was female in that school. She was criticised as being not a very pretty person out of a lot of people in the school. Now, obviously, I don't insult people or do that sort of thing, but sexually, she's not my type either, unfortunately, and she has totally different interests to what I'm into. She has social interests, clubbing, partying, going out and that sort of thing, and she's also into pop music and caring for old people. That's what she does as a job. Now, yeah, I knew her up until 1997, 98. Went to Bridgewater College, but I had to leave Bridgewater College because people I didn't know were starting on me, and it got a little bit dangerous. And then after that, that's when my life went downhill from there onwards. Sort of being mugged was mainly the starting stage. That was repeatedly, and then obviously it just got worse and worse, and the threats came in and just got to how it was today, basically. But I won't go into all that because there's another audio where I've mentioned this, so I want to keep that out of this audio. Right, so it started off with me putting adverts in shop windows and in the newspaper. No replies, nothing at all. About 2004, 2005, I went to use the local library computers, which they just set up, and they allowed you 1 hour for free. I got to know how to use a dating site, and at the same time I was doing track lists for the jungle techno site that was on there, and listening to tunes from Hardcore Will Never Die to put the track listings in for the mixtapes that I used to have, known as Dance Trance, which is a Mickey Linus event where they played old school jungle music that's very deep, and I located all my tracks, and eventually I bought some records and took them off, but over time very bad things have happened and I've lost all those tracks. The 16GB MTIC orange USB sticks messed up and lost my tracks, and just on and on. Eventually I just lost a lot, but I have managed to get a couple of downloads, or managed to sort out a couple of rescued sort of from other areas, or done something, or rather managed to get it from a CD or whatever. I've managed to get a few back, but not many. But this is not what this video is about. The first year I started using dating sites, I signed up to about 30 dating sites in that 1 year, and they were being closed down on me. They were free ones that everyone were using back at that time, and how people would date and get someone. But because I have autism and Asperger's and don't go clubbing, they won't make friendship unless you're a drug addict. That was back in that time though. You've got to be a heroin addict or a cocaine addict to be accepted by these ladies, or you're not supposed to have people that are saying, or message me, "Oh, I'm so hot, stop adding me," or, you know, that's stupid behaviour. And some were getting quite aggressive, saying, "I already have a boyfriend, and here, smash you up, and here, put a weapon in you," and so on. So it was really bad. But And then in the second year I started paying for it, so I was paying several postal orders and for the dating sites, and I was using them, but unfortunately, even though I made the payments, they closed the dating sites down, so I made a loss there. Right, nothing really materialised over the next few years, and then eventually I came onto Facebook and started speaking to people on there. But everyone I knew on Facebook turned against me or stopped speaking to me, so that was a downfall. And then obviously I started using dating sites even more. I had scams. A Philippine raided my bank card of 600 quid, which was a specific one. Before I had a proper bank, there was like another card that my mum sorted out for me, and it's like a top-up card. They raided my card. This was someone from the Philippines, and it was about 600 quid. And then I reloaded the card, and that got scammed as well, so I phoned them up and there's nothing they could do about it, so I made a loss, and that was in 2016. Throughout the time I've had scams from people in Africa. £525 costs, so like £500 to I gave them, and £25 for Western Union transfer. And I don't like doing that, and in the past I've never risked it, but I was in like a bad state at that time. So 2016, 2017, 2018, I was sort of slightly on the edge of suicidal, because I've finally my life wasn't getting any better, and it was just getting worse and worse, and unfortunately it's got even worse than that now. So yeah, it's not good, but I managed to keep myself intact from doing any harm, and obviously, I take depression tablets for it as well, so it helps with that. Yeah, so in total it works out about £10,000 in about 16 years of using dating sites, public transport, the payment to speed dating and dating agencies. Now, a couple of people have asked me if I'm single, but it's always the negative type, the type I can't stand the look of, or the type that everyone say is a munt, or say or can't stand the look of, the granny sort of look, or worser. And I'm not the sort that takes to that, but that's the only type that's ever added me. And there's been some that use fake pictures, and when I've gone to meet up and turned up, it's fallen through because I haven't bothered to meet them, because they just look like what I told you, and I thought, if they look like that and they're not the person that someone don't look like the person I'm dating, then I'm not meeting up. And then they sort of wave or give a sign to say that I'm here, and I thought, oh no, I'm not meeting up with that. I don't insult people or take the piss though, but when I'm being told to go with someone I can't stand the look of, when you've not had nothing in your whole life, it's not really that fair to be told to go with a munter. So I get a little bit annoyed about it, to be honest. Obviously I'm 38 years of age, and I'm being told to go with people double the age of people that actually abused me as a child, the youngest people. And I think that's rather an insult, to be honest, because obviously if you haven't had nothing in your whole life, then obviously you can't force yourself to go with that sort. And I've been told by people that like me that wouldn't be very fair either, not if you haven't had anyone before, and you've had these sort of things happen to you, like clairvoyance or whatever has picked up on it. Now, so to skip all the going through all the documentary of dating and all that, I'll just go into a couple of things clairvoyance has said over the years. Right, the very first clairvoyant I saw told me that I was going to get a lady called Stephanie. Now, I don't know what the surname is of this lady, but at around about that time I started getting the Stephanie threat, and it started turning out violent from the Palace nightclub in Bridgewater, causing trouble. So I thought maybe that's not a good option. And then they started turning people against me, claiming that I have AIDS, or claiming that I abused people or whatever. Obviously I can't state this very easy because I don't want to cause offence, but this caused a lot of people to turn against me, and it caused a lot of trouble and a lot of threats to take place from about 2006 onwards, when this occurred. And some of it got quite violent. I was down a canal one day, I was pushed in. I've had a bottle smashed across my head in the past. Luckily I escaped that because I ran, and I've been held up at knife point in the past as well. So yeah, it's been pretty bad, and it's all been on sexuality as well, even though I've not had nothing in my whole life. So yeah, let's go to the second clairvoyant. That was Bridgewater Fair. Trying to think what she said. She predicted a lady called Chloe, saying she's going to be a blonde, aged about 18. Now there was actually a lady that was about that age in North Peverton, but the problem there, she didn't really know me that well, and she just said alright when she saw me walking about. She started to go to the Palace nightclub in Bridgewater and started clubbing, and enemies started making stuff up about me, and she turned against me. And there was a small period of time where I got a couple of threats from her, and now it's just she doesn't speak to me or say nothing when she walks past. So that's another problem. So that was another person she turned against me. Following year, no, not following year, I can't remember now. Let's go on to 2011. 2011, a clairvoyant predicted Chloe, possibly meaning the same Chloe, or a different Chloe, unless I don't know. But she definitely said there's going to be a lady under Chloe, and she said you have to go to North Peverton Carnival to make this happen. And I read all this all across Facebook at that time. The time the carnival was supposed to take place, there was an M5 fuel explosion on the motorway the day before the event, or a couple of days before the carnival in North Peverton, and they took the carnival off. So no such girlfriend ever occurred. And the other thing is, the people that have been sexy and I've been trying to date and use public transport to get to, or saying they meet up at these places, on about 100 times this has happened, believe it or not, unfortunately, because obviously I used public transport a lot back in those days, because I was getting pissed off at the threats at my old place. So I was using the bus service about over 100 times a year, easy. And obviously there's about 100 times where I tried meeting up with ladies from dating, and there's either been road closures, road diversions, enemies staying outside my place to stop me leaving my place the day I go to meet up, and on one occasion had a letter to push me into work, which diverted me from back to go home when I went to get the Glastonbury bus, because I had to sort this letter out. And obviously there's been a lot of other things as well that stopped me getting a partner. 2012 things started to change. I was getting a little bit older, because obviously I was in my 30s, and they started moaning about the age gap, which is a problem. I mean, going back to the 1990s, all my enemies, the same enemies that give me threats today, or the same people that want me dead, or want me smashed out, or calling me this and calling me that, or making excuses, or threatening to break in or inject me or flight me off or whatever. Unfortunately, these are the same people that have been with teenagers 20-25 years ago, and yet they are giving me trouble because I won't fancy the negative type of lady because I'm 14 early. But they're not taking into account that I've never had anybody before, which is causing a lot of trouble. So yeah, So yeah, about 2012 they started moaning about the age. And they're going back, as I just said, age gap between relationships wasn't as much as a problem as it is today. There's people older than I am now that were going out with 18-year-olds back in the 1990s and early 2000s. There's people actually nearly the age of 50 that I've seen with people aged 20 back at that time. But today is a lot different, and also the accent's very dry and sarcastic, and people give this like lizard face look to you as well, or sarcastic look. So they're getting is a much different today. It's different completely. And another bad time that occurred is I saw a single lady who was 18 exactly in age. She went to ask me out at Bridgewater Fair, but the police came to my door and wanted to make an arrest because I left a piece of paper outside which was mistaken as causing threatening behaviour when I was writing down threats. And when I went back out to see this lady, after I said I was going back to go to the toilet, obviously she left and thought I was a time waster and went back in the fair, and I never found her. So I lost out on that. I was also arrested another time at Bridgewater Fair. I think it's the year before, 2 years before that, I can't remember. And then obviously I was fined and whatever happened there. Right, in 2012, 2013, sorry, there was a lot of people adding me on Facebook as friends to try and date with me, and this was the start of when the £525 travel scams occurred again. Many more people were moaning about the age gap. They said they'd only allow a 10-year age gap at that time, and then obviously they didn't think, they knew that the age was 18, to get a relationship. But between this sort of time, 2013 to 2017, it's changed dramatically, because one, they don't think they're an adult until they're 25, so it's jumped from 18. 16 was the actual youngest adult age, I think, by parental how do I put it, agreement, I think, I'm not sure. And then obviously 18's the official, and then 21 can go with any age, but so can 18, but they sort of rate it at 21 if you're sort of over 40 sort of thing. But that's all different today. They seem to be pushing the age up to 25, thinking that they're not an adult until they're 25, and that's caused a lot of problems on dating, because everyone's a single mother by that age, and I'm trying to find someone that's not a single parent. So we've had a couple of years of people speaking to me and me speaking to them on dating, and nothing really progresses. It's just like scammers or people pretending to say this and say that, and all they asking is saying, what's your job, where do you work, and just saying that. Nearly every person has added me has just basically said, what's your job and where do you work, after asking questions and questions. I find out later that it's just black Africans causing trouble in a mass and trying to scam me, and they did. So yeah, I gave up on dating around about 2015, late 2015 or 2016. So I started trying prostitution sites and trying to see if I could get one of those, because obviously I'm not very happy about the illegal things that happened to me as a child, and not being able to get a single bit of fun in my whole life. And according to a past life psychic, in my last life I had nothing at all, and I was basically abused, and I wasn't entitled to a single bit of fun with anyone in my previous life, and the clairvoyant actually broke down in tears when she gave me that previous life reading, which is about 12 years ago, and she said, you're definitely going to get someone in this life. That hasn't happened yet, unfortunately, but that's what she said 12 years ago. She said, put your faith in Jesus Christ and things would change. 12 years later, I still had nothing in my whole life. And then we've even got enemies telling me that they're going to shoot me and saying that you're supposed to be in poverty and that you're going to be in Africa, and that the same thing's going to happen to me again in my next life after they complain because I don't work. So it's pretty nasty. But anyway, like I said, I don't want to go into all the threats and all the stuff like that. I just want to get straight into what I'm trying to say. So yeah, so I started using these prostitution sites around about that time, and they were just messaging, do I know you? Do I know you in person? Moaning about the age gap. This is a prostitute, by the way. They're supposed to go with any age. And when I visited one and asked for hardcore, basically, because obviously I wanted to have some fun, and they don't provide it. They only give you a candlestick telephone, or a garden gnome, as you call it, and I wasn't very happy about that. So then this lady came to mine, as she contacted me on Beaver Street, and she came up with these stories like the car's broken down and she'll move in with me, just need to sort the car out and all the rest of it, and she ended up getting 700, nearly 800 quid out of me. I can't remember the exact figure, I think it's 770 something, I can't remember. But she took that out of my hand. I had to go to the bank and draw it out, and it turns out she's a scammer, and then she tried to ask me for the card, and at that time I realised what was going on, because she wanted the card number to get more money, and she didn't even give me a proper bit of fun either. And it started off with a garden gnome job, which started off with a 250 quid payment before she came up with all this and saying, I'll give you proper fun, moving and all that and all the rest of it. So she was being very clever, and she is what was known as Michael Jackson prostitute, because the neighbours at my place, I might be connected to her, because in threats in the past it's been brought up saying that I'm a sicko because I contacted this lady, but I didn't actually contact her, she contacted me. And I found out later on, when she re-put herself on the internet, that her real age is 28, and her name is actually, she does go by the name of what she told me, and it's Jeanette. She's not really that good looking, to be honest, but you know, when you haven't had nothing in your whole life and you're feeling suicidal and all the rest of it at that time, then obviously you've got to go for what you can get, and it ended up with nothing there, so that's another problem. Right, David Cameron left the EU, is in 2016, something like that. There's a certain period of time where I had a whole load of friends on Facebook add me, saying that they're going to help me out and become friends and see if they can get me a partner, and said that you will get something. David Cameron leaves the EU, and for 2 weeks they carry on chatting to me in a friendly way, and then these 6 or 7 people that add me on Facebook suddenly start a row and suddenly all delete me off at the same time. Now, I never understood what caused that or who these people were, but they fell out with me for no reason. And that. More recently, there's been prostitutes that I've been trying to go to try and have fun, and when I get to the place that they live at, it appears that they're druggies and about 20 or 30 years older than what they're posing on the Dating or Viva Street or places like that, and to a point where you can't fancy. So a bit like how Anne Widdecombe would have looked in Houses of Parliament, so that sort of attraction. And like I said earlier on, I can't take to that type. I only take to like the smooth, good looking, happy type. And also I've noticed that most of the people that look like me are actually in a relationship with a sexual type of lady. I've only recently noticed this, but people that look like me or have a similar face to what I look like are usually with the soft, I wouldn't say soft, but like a smooth attraction appearance, small build lady with short hair that's dark, so it's like really short, dark, and a sort of a happy sort of jolly type, and sort of rounded sort of face. So there's sort of people that look, or sometimes a bit of a long face, hard to describe, depends who the person is, but that's the sort of looking lady people with my resemblance seem to be with when I see them out in the streets walking about. It's very rare I see people that look like me, but that's the sort of person they seem to be with when it comes to people that look like me for appearance. So I thought I'd let you know. Right, so after all these problems occurred that I just mentioned, after I got the scamming in 2018, which left me having to sell all my stuff on eBay, so I emptied all my drawers out, sold all my stuff on eBay, and then we had this PayPal issue, which I didn't actually know very well, which asked for a 4-digit code, and after a couple of months of trying to sort that out and making calls to the bank and sorting out, I realised that the PayPal account is buckled, so I couldn't do it, so I had to open another account. Then I started selling stuff again. Right, also in April of 2018, I was being mistaken as Seven, the very first time in my life that I had the threat occur under the name Seven, and this later increased, but at the time it was just the odd threat here and there. My computer decided to crash with all my music on it after selling 50 CD compilations, including Jungle Techno, Hard Leaders, Jungle Splash Takes You Into Jungleism, Jungle Business Volume 1, Drum and Bass Floor Burners, 40 Floor Burners Volume 1 and 2, 4-pack CDs, Jungle Heat 95, Jungle Hits 1. There's quite a lot. There's about 50 albums that I got rid of because I was in need of cash, and I thought I saved them to the computer, they'd be all safe. Now I got to a track, I was saving this Jungle Heat 95 that I just had in the post, which is the last CD that I planned to save, and then the computer decides to break. I got around about the last 2-3 tracks to the end of saving that one CD. I don't know what the track was, because obviously that's not one of my better CDs, but it's a CD I re-bought again because I hadn't heard it for years and I like it. So about the last, somewhere around the end of the CD nearly, I saved it, and the computer decided to break, and I ended up smashing it up outside in a temper. I lost all my live recordings, dance trance mixes, because I didn't have it backed up on hard drive, because I was cleaning the hard drives ready to put that on, and I didn't expect the computer to do that. I lost all my CDs. I lost the rescued vinyl rips that I did. There wasn't many vinyl rips because they ended up lost on the M-Tick orange sticks, and the tracks that I re-got, downloaded or whatever, I lost all those as well, and I quite literally lost all my music, and I absolutely went ballistic. So I smashed the computer up, but I did manage to get another one off of eBay for £35, and obviously that was one I was using up until about a month ago, because that one broke as well. I lost stuff on there as well, mind. Some USB sticks broke with stuff on after that. So I thought, well, I may as well give up on my music completely, because I'm not going to get my jungle music back, not now, after you losing all that. And then things started to worsen, because around about May, June the same year, threats started to increase with me being mistaken as Seven. Around about the end of September 2018, the threats got worse, got really, really, really bad. And also in September was another time where I lost another load of music, due to another issue, and I decided to buy a couple of records, just as sentimental records. Not that I could take them off or rescue the tracks, but I just wanted a couple to memorise. Since I lost all my music, I thought I might as well just get a couple, so I can sort of, at least I've got something to look at, you know. The following year, I put it in the window and accidentally gets melted. Oh no, you know, so that's the next problem. November 2018, I get the very first threat where I'm mistaken as Leah. And then obviously there's a new neighbour that moves in and things change again. And it's not my thing to go on about neighbours because I'm not allowed to, so I'm not going to bring up neighbours or anything like that, because it'd be breaking the law if I do, and it won't go down very well with housing. So we're going to skip that, but I will tell you the general issue of all the problems as a whole. Right, from that time onwards, things got a lot worse, and then it turned out like my old place, and then it got worse than my old place when I was living in Bridgewater. And then the threats were on a daily basis right through 2019. Every single day I went out, there was at least 5 nasty threats shouted at me per day, every single day, or every single time I went out, apart from 3 days in 2019. And it was mistaking me as a Sven, and all the usual threats that I state, like calling me a liar, calling me this and that, threatening to break in, to smash me up, to use weapons, to inject me with, you know, whatever, or to flight me off. And it just got nastier and nastier and nastier. I sold all my stuff, job lots and boxes, got rid of all that, so my place is basically empty, and it still is. I started to buy back some of my CDs off of eBay when financial problems were back to normal, and that would have been about the following year, roughly about April 2019. Then I found out that they were charging too much, so I packed it in and just got rid of those CDs and job lot them, and I saved a couple of tracks, not many, because obviously on a compilation CD you only get 1 or 2 good tracks on the CD, and the rest are a load of rubbish unless it's the Jungle Techno series or Hard Leader series. But Hard Leader's only got a few tracks, but Jungle Techno series, there are more than 1 track on a CD. So I got a few tracks, and obviously the computer broke when I got rid of those CDs as well. And then obviously that was an issue. After that, gunshot sounds were being made. At the start of all that occurred, and the gun you type threats. That would have been about that sort of time. That's been going on for quite some time, about up to 3 years, about 2016. But it's only sort of increased in that time period, about April 2019. And then about September 2019, someone started using a laser gun, zapping radiation through the walls, causing me to get eye pain, and that's just increased, and this is the problem I got today, unfortunately. And all the threats have got even worse as well. So it's pointless living, really, to be honest. There's no good news, and it's just been bad right through. And even before all these problems occurred, I was suicidal, and that was in 2016 area, or the start of that sort of period of time onwards. And yeah, it just gets worse, as I told you, losing all my music and all the rest of it. So it's not been very good. Right, in 2019 I had to give up on dating sites completely, and I started looking for transsexuals. So basically that's a man that looks like a woman and has smooth skin like a woman, so a feminine attraction with a male agenda. And then I find out that they're moaning about the age gap and being fussy as well. So it gets even worse. I try dating older ladies, on prostitutes this is, that have a sexual face. And where people cause so many problems or trouble across Somerset, they've even heard of the threat and they mistaken me as Sir Ven. And I've also had threats on my real name as well, and my nickname on dating sites going back to 2005, which is a similar story. As it stands at the moment, I'm relying on a clairvoyant reading which took place last year, and that is things are going to get worse and worse at my place before I eventually move. But when a partner comes into my life, things will settle down a little bit, but you're both going to have to move. So I'm at risk of a burglary. She made that clear. At risk of being attacked, and in a life situation where people are causing trouble on grounds that are not true. So there's a lot of trouble that's being caused. So it's really bad, this is, but that's what it is. But now I've told you about the negative past, let's just hope the future has a bit of a change, because obviously they're not very good looking in my age group, and some actually do look like a granny, unfortunately. But this is not my fault. It's not my fault I don't have anyone. It's because enemies have stopped me getting anyone or made stuff up about me. And also they tell me to go with people that I know in person only. Now I can't go with people that I know in person, because every possibility or every person that I knew has been turned against me, or they've turned against me. And the other bad news is, apart from 2 people out of everybody I've known in my whole life who is basic looking or sexual looking or just about good enough to fancy, have all turned against me, and they've all become single mothers. And on top of that, they're with my enemies as well, who have accused me of this and that, or moaned about age gaps and whatever. In I can't remember, there was a lady that asked me out in Burnham-on-Sea. It seemed to be someone that was in about, I think she said she was 22, but she fancied me and said she doesn't mind the age gap and all the rest of it. And then a couple of enemies walked past saying I had HIV and caused trouble, and she walked off because of this threat, and I've never seen her again. And then we got this Mary Bradley case. My phone's ringing, so I'm going to cut the recording, but I should continue it in a minute. Alright, sorry about this, but I had to answer the phone. It was a very important call and I couldn't miss it, so yeah. So I knew this Mary Bradley, sorry. Right, she was a lady that, first of all, she started smiling at me when she saw me in the street. At the time I thought she was about 22. So she did that. Eventually she started to speak to me, but the very first time I went into a conversation, when she said she was single, a couple of enemies aged about 40 started a row saying that I was Sir Ven and a dangerous whatever, and mistaking me as another person, and told this Mary to go and see them. Down the line, it started off with her just giving me a nasty look when she saw me out in the street. It then went into sarcastic remarks after that. Then it went into threats. Later on, I find out she's with a rough person. The rough person she's with actually looks older than I am, but must be younger, because obviously the argument that occurred on one occasion with these rough people were because of the age gap, because I was over my mid-30s. And then later on, this Mary Bradley becomes pregnant, becomes a single mother, and then the person she's with starts throwing threats with her, and claiming this and claiming that when they see me in the streets. And for the last 6+ months I've not seen this lady at all, I don't think, to what I can remember. So that's that as well. So that's another person that's turned. And then we move on to someone called Gemma. But again, there's so much trouble, and these people causing this and that. It really is ridiculous. And going into a story is sort of a similar sort of issue again and again and again on whoever I mention by name or whatever. So yeah, so that's all the bad things that stopped me getting anyone in my whole life. Now, a lot of people have told me that it's possibly due to your condition, having autism or Asperger's or anything like that. But if you look at half of my enemies, that were they're all with, some of them are with disabled ladies, and even some, you know, it's very clever how they work, you know. So, you know, that's that. Now let me give you a bit of 2020, shall I? Because 2020 is even worse than 2019. Right, let me just find an area where I can speak, because it's very windy today and very difficult to speak, but at least it's warm, because obviously the warmer weather is there, and I can only go out once a day anyway because of the coronavirus, so I want to make the most of it in this one walk, because you're only legally allowed to go out once a day unless there's something you have to do that's serious, or something you have to do in an emergency. So, right, 2020. Right, it starts off with threats increasing. I get started on at Christmas by someone saying they're going to smash my guitar up when I don't listen to guitar music. People shouting to do this and to do that with me in a malicious and violent way, and are shouting aggressively. After neighbours down Allendale Road was shouting it, all the people down that time, in that area, they're making gunshot sounds through the window, mistaking me as Liam Saven, my real name, and things just got really nasty. And this laser gun issue increased as well, and that's why I got eye problems today. I started using the bus service to try and get to places, to see if I could get a date or anything like that, and turned down by anybody I see, unless negative attraction. And obviously the computer broke 1 month ago, which has basically ended the jungle scene that I listened to. I mean, I did rescue tracks and put it on that computer, and the hard drives that recently had them on, I never realised I didn't have them on USB, and I forgot I cleaned them all, which I must have done when I was tipsy or drunk one night to put something else on them, and then I realised that yeah, and then I forgot about it, and then when the computer broke down I realised that I lost all my music. So I've lost all my music. So what I've done recently is started buying some old music back that I used to listen to, or alternative music that I listened to, like ABBA, Carpenters, 70s easy listening, and New Age meditation and stuff like that, and they've re-released, so now that's what I call music series, and I like number 1 that came out in 1983, so I'm having to change my music. But I have managed to gather about, no, I've actually got the amount, hang on, yeah, 38 tracks. So I've rescued 38 tracks from all sources, from CDs lying across the floor that are being chucked out or damaged early, from old USB sticks, and possibilities of stuff that's on the hard drives. And the bestest news of all, I didn't lose that track that I recently composed, which is called Victorian Railway, Justin Langford. So that's a jungle track I decided to do on a music programme, and I made it very deep and atmospheric, and yeah, it's a good track. So if you like that track, just go on YouTube and type in Justin Langford and Victorian Railway. You'll see a picture of me holding a can of Heineken lager in the middle of summer when it's hot, because I don't think I got my t-shirt on. It's like 30 degrees in my room whenever I took the picture back in 2018, I think it was. So yeah, if you like it, then check it out. Right, now I've got through all the negativity and all the problems, I'm going to let you know what type of lady I'm looking for, and my interests and the sort of way of life that I live, and looking to find a partner with that can accept me for this sort of way of life. Well, firstly, I'm nearly 40, so I'm hoping that age is not too much of a problem. Now, as I said earlier on, age isn't a problem in either direction, as long as the lady is sexy, good looking and smooth attraction, because obviously I don't take to the negative, sour looking type. Maybe if I had someone before and got used to socialising with people and that attraction being everywhere for the last 20 years like everyone else, then maybe I'd be more adaptable. But I've not had anything at all in my whole life, not even a what you call it, so we'll have to start at the bottom of the ladder, unfortunately. So I'm currently 38, but I might as well say 39 because that's very shortly. So that'll be in December. I can't really use anything on dating as such, or Facebook, because the coronavirus and social distancing and being blocked, and socialising is not very easy. But I shall let you know what I'm looking for anyway, in case anyone does decide to be honest and is looking for somebody like me. So yeah, right. My interests are music. I like all types of music, but my main type of music that I like is old school jungle. But I don't like the commercial stuff, so I don't like stuff like Original Nutter, Super Sharp Shooter, or The Lighter, or stuff like that. I'm into stuff like tracks like Pesce World of Music, Rev P 1994, Intense Paradox, Lifting Spirits Will I Dream, and these sorts of tracks. So I'm into like a different type. But because of the issue that occurred in 2018, 2019 and this year, I've lost 3/4 of my music. I only actually have 38 tracks, as I've already mentioned on this audio. So I've really got no choice but to accept the loss of those tracks, because I can't get them back, and they're not even on YouTube anymore, half of them. So that's a bit of a bummer. But I am willing to change my style of music, and I do have alternatives. Although I have alternatives, I would prefer to listen to the stuff that I've been listening to all my life, because obviously I'm the sort of person that happy music, when your life isn't in a very good situation, doesn't do much for me. It makes me irritable rather than it cheers me up, if you get what I'm saying. But if music is soulful, deep and sad, it keeps me calm. It works reverse. But other people, they may prefer to have happy, jolly music, but it doesn't work for me, that. Right, I'm into animals, but animals would probably be the bottom end of favourite interests, so it's not one of my top of the table for interest, but it's definitely in my interest, but at the bottom end. Nature, music, arts, history, old lighting, countryside walks, coastal walks, woodland walks, evening sunsets, sunset into nightfall walks, possibly a barbecue, picnics in the summer. I'm into those sorts of interests, if you get what I'm saying. So maybe creativity, I'm into how do I put it, gothic stuff, like I wouldn't mind sitting in a room lighting a few candles in darkness and holding a seance or something like that, you know, that sort of thing. Into that sort of thing, like the paranormal. Things I'm not really into is socialising with lots of people. A lot of people gives me a lot of trouble, and it's been happening all my life. I mean, the only time in my life I haven't really had any trouble was when I was at Avalon School. The whole 4 years I was at Avalon School, I never made a single enemy, and I never got into any issues with anybody in that school. There were mild things that occurred once or twice, but nothing like as soon as I left school, or before I was forced out of my old school because of people causing trouble at Elmwood School and Blake School in Bridgewater, mixed together, causing a whole load of trouble. So that sort of kicked off there. Right, so if a woman's into those sorts of interests, then that'd be good. Now, I'd say I like the blonde type, like everybody else, but the blonde type don't exist in my age group, so that might have to be a no-no. Unfortunately, with all my enemies, they've managed to have these types, but because I'm a lot older now, even though I've never had no one in my whole life, I'm not going to get that type, so I'm not going to be able to fancy a blonde type, because a blonde type now would look a bit like Margaret Thatcher, so not really my sort. Maybe Anne Widdecombe, I mean, or whatever. So not really my sort, if you get what I'm saying. So if I was to look for a lady, it's going to have to be sort of smooth face, maybe brown eyes, golden brown hair, medium build, very laughable. Maybe that type. I don't think there's many types that are good looking in my age group, and because they don't allow the age gaps like they used to, it's very difficult. But if you're gonna have me and you're not very good looking and you have a sour type of face or dry and sarcastic appearance, then I'm not going to take to that at all. I don't take to the social looking types, I take to the more sort of the other type. So if you want to change my life, then please contact me on 0781 81 52881. Email me at Email me at candlelighthauntings@gmail.com, which is all one word. Or if you want to see me in person, then feel free to come to Barrow Road, Burnham-on-Sea, and just message me and I'll give you the address, because I don't really care if anyone knows the address anyway, because there's nothing for them there to take anymore, because basically I've sold everything. So, I mean, I've had a recent burglary. It's a burglary that's taken place, and it's like they've taken a few things, taken a few handfuls, and they've managed to get through the door or window. There's not much for them to take because I don't have much there, but they took the laptop that I got off of eBay, which was a replacement I got for 3 weeks ago, and they also took USB sticks off the floor and a couple of things out of the drawers. So whoever went in there took about 3 handfuls of stuff in total. I was with my dad Mike at the time it happened, because Mike picked me up from my place. We went for a quick walk somewhere, and when I got back and he dropped me off, that's when I discovered it happened. Now, I know that I left the window open, but I'm not sure if I actually accidentally left it open at that time, because I wasn't thinking straight when I was opening and closing the windows because of the warm weather. But whatever happened, this stuff went missing. So in effect, I've had a burglary, but it's not a burglary where they rip the floor up. It's but it still comes under that. So yeah, this has not been brilliant. A clairvoyant did warn me of this, but you know, you can't judge when these sorts of things are going to happen, you know. And this is why I've been getting a little bit stressed out recently, and why I shouted out the window a couple of days ago to someone else that threatened to break in, saying I'd do this and do that. So I got really nasty. What I said I don't mean, but obviously when people push it too far, then obviously I get a little bit nasty about it. So yeah, but like I said, if you're single and willing to accept the age gap. Either direction, it doesn't matter, as long as you're someone that's single. All I'm asking for is someone that's sexy looking, smooth appearance, and someone that's not a single mother. And if there isn't anyone that's a single mother, then obviously it'll have to be a transsexual. But if it's transsexual, please make sure it's at a younger age than if a female, because I'm only take to the feminine type. I'm not the sort of, I can't really take to homosexual attraction, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah, I'll leave it there, and thank you for listening, and please leave your comments. Cheers. If you do have any queries about this, or you are a bit concerned about anything I said, or a bit offended by anything, then please let me know, and then I can readjust the video. But I think it's all okay, you know, how I worded it. So I'll leave it there, and I hope you enjoyed listening. Cheers.